Hello, and welcome to the STVCastle channel once again. Um, I believe I should be sharing with you something different here, and this is something that is more on the fun side of things. Um, as you see right here on your screen, this is an online game of chess, and this has been one of my favorite hobbies to do for a long time now, for about 2 decades, and you guys will need to bear with me here because this is like my first ever video doing this, so I'm not sure how this is going to go. So if there's anything that you guys need to see differently here with how I present this, please let me know in the comment section below. But anyway, let's get started here with this game. um, if you have a lot of knowledge on chess, you would know what I'm going to be talking about here. This is just a game I played recently against a guest. I have no idea who the guest is, but Um, let's just go through this game, shall we? Okay. So I have the black pieces, and the guest that I'm playing against has the white pieces. So the game starts out like this. My opponent plays e4. I play g6. That is the King Fianchetto modern defense. And so move 2, my opponent plays d4. I play bishop g7, the Fianchetto. Uh, C3 is my opponent's response. Knight F6 is what I play. E5, pushing my knight. So I move my knight to D5. Uh, my opponent then plays bishop C4. It develops the bishop, of course. C6, defending the knight. Knight F3. B5. Now, let me take a quick pause right now. Just trying to give you guys an idea of what I'm thinking of while I'm playing this game. Now, when I play b5 here, I'm obviously pushing the bishop back. I'm at least forcing the bishop to make a move here. Either the bishop is going to capture the knight here, or it's just going to run away. So my opponent decides to take the knight. Bishop captures knight on d5. I capture back with the pawn. Now I know the pawn structure is broken up. I'm totally aware of that. So what does my opponent do? Knight g5. I guess the guess I guess my opponent believes that there's a weakness here. I go ahead and castle. So my opponent plays queen f3. I play h6, driving knight back. Knight goes back to h3. d6, offering a pawn exchange. And then my opponent just goes after this pawn here. Queen takes pawn d5. Obviously pinning this pawn. Then I play bishop takes knight h3. Now I do that because I want to weaken my opponent's pawn structure here. I'm circling all this, just so you know. So my opponent goes queen captures a8. Now obviously I did not see that. That was a blunder on my case. Obviously you don't want to do that for your rooks. Now you may be thinking, okay, what are you thinking here, Stephen? Well, yeah, I just lost my rook. I clearly know that. But I just keep playing. I'm feeling pretty good about myself. I know what I want to do here. So I take my bishop back to f5. My opponent takes another piece, captures pawn a7 with the queen. So I go ahead and capture that pawn, e5. My opponent then castles. Then I capture another pawn, E takes on d4. Now the rook basically pins the pawn, but I'm not sweating it. As you can tell, I'm not sweating this. So what do? I protect it. What can he do? Now the opponent is going to move his knight out to a3. He's got to get the knight out somehow. Makes sense. So I proceed to play b4. Now, there again, what are you thinking, Stephen? Well, yeah, this guy could capture this pawn, and that's fine. If anything, that's what I want him to do. So that's what he does. C takes on b4. Now, where's the logic behind this? Just wait and see, guys. I push the pawn forward again, d3. The bishop is covering the pawn. Now, queen goes all the way back to e3. And what do? e4. Now, once again, you're thinking, okay, can't my opponent just play something like g4 just to move the bishop back, so therefore the queen can come in on the next move and capture this pawn e4? Yeah, you'd have an argument for that. But sometimes when you're, playing with like gut instincts and just winging it and knowing that it's just a 5-minute game, you just have to let it play out. So knight goes to c4 for my opponent. I play rook to e8 to cover that pawn. My opponent plays bishop d2. I finally get my knight out. Knight c6. Bishop c3. Bishop takes bishop on c3. Pawn takes bishop on c3. Then I play bishop to c4, forcing the rook to do something. And so he does. Rook to d2 to get out of harm's way. Then I go out with my queen and play queen g5, offering a trade of queens, which he does, except queen takes queen g5, h-pawn takes queen on g5, h3, driving the bishop back. That's fine. Bishop goes back to e6. Knight goes back to e3. I push my pawn forward to f5 to keep this pawn chain going. a4, rook c8, a5. It seems like my opponent has like momentum going with his own pawn chain here, and I am aware of this. Knight a7 is my response. f3, attacking this pawn. Rook takes pawn on c3. Now, whether my opponent saw that or not, I have no idea, but I saw that, so I went ahead and took it. Pawn takes, rook e1. Bishop goes back to f5 to protect this pawn. Then the knight takes the bishop. The pawn takes the knight on f5. Okay, now he gets his king out, king f2. So what do? Now I have these two pawns bearing down on me. What do? Well, I get my king going. King f7, king f3, king e6, king d4, challenging my rook. So what does my rook do? Well, my rook stays where it's at because I play knight b5 check. That protects my rook with the L-shaped pattern move. King e3, king d5. Notice the position I'm getting here. g3, king c4. I know that there's trouble here with these two pawns. I've got to take care of these pawns. So the rook goes back to b1. The rook on e1 goes to b1. My rook goes to c2, challenging that rook. And then this rook goes down to b2, thinking he has something. That's not the case. Rook takes rook on d2. King takes rook on d2. f4. Now, let me take a timeout here. Now, clearly, my opponent had the piece advantage with the rooks just a couple moves ago. Now, normally, most players would really start worrying at that point. But when it comes to how I play, it's a really unique kind of style, I guess. I mean, it's just a style, but it's just how I play chess. So I know that I have this pawn chain going. So I move my pawn up to f4, challenging these two pawns right here. G takes, G takes. Now I have 3 pawns in a good position all together. King is right there. H4. And then I push my pawn forward again. E3 check. The king has to go back. The king cannot go here on c3. The king cannot go there on c2. And the king obviously can't go there on e2. So it has to go back. King e1. So I move f3. Now you see here, 3 pawns. 3 pawns. There's nowhere for the king to go. Knight's going to help. So keep that in mind. When you're staring down 3 pawns like this, you got to know what to do. So my opponent goes h5, thinking he still has a shot here to promote to a queen. I move my king to c3, get in a better position, challenging the rook. Rook has to move. He goes to h2, which makes sense. You want to protect your pawn. But I get my knight going. Knight a3. And hopefully as you see this position now, guys, you see what I see. h6, knight c2, check. Now, obviously at this point in the game, my opponent was having a lot of time trouble. And I knew that. So the king moves, d1. I go e2, check. My opponent has no other choice but to sacrifice his rook. Rook takes pawn, e2. The f pawn takes the rook on e2, check. And at that point, it was already time up for my opponent. He ran out of time. But let's just see here what would have happened if he played on. King would have moved to c1. And then what would I have done? Right there. I would have promoted that e pawn on to e1 to a queen, and that's checkmate. The king cannot go anywhere because the king's blocked by this king, and the queen has this area covered. So there you go. And so that was my first ever game. Obviously, I have a lot of learning to do when it comes to making presentations like this. In time, I'll get better doing this. If this is something you guys want to see, just give me a comment below. Give me suggestions as to how to present this better. Um, is this something you want to see more of? Just let me know. Hope you enjoyed this game, and have a good rest of your day. Thank you.